They assume it's disrespect, that you didn't care enough to remember, that you were distracted, careless, maybe even a little self-absorbed. But here's what nobody tells you. For some people, forgetting names isn't about attention at all. It's something your brain is actually doing on purpose. And the psychology underneath it is stranger than it looks. You can remember entire conversations. What someone said, how they said it, the exact tone in their voice. You remember the moment they hesitated before answering. You remember what they were wearing, where you were standing. But when it comes to their name, it's just gone. Not faded, not blurry, gone like it was never there in the first place. So, you compensate. You avoid saying names out loud. You replay introductions in your head after they happen. You delay responding just to buy time. You've said hey instead of a name more times than you can count. And sometimes, you recognize the person instantly, but panic quietly because you know they probably remember you. That split second, that internal scramble, is something most people never see. But here's where it starts to make sense. Your brain doesn't treat all information equally. Names, surprisingly, are one of the least meaningful pieces of data your brain receives. They don't describe the person. They don't explain behavior. They don't carry emotional weight on their own. So if your mind is wired to prioritize meaning over labels, names are the first thing to go. And this wiring often starts early. If you grew up needing to read people instead of just interact with them, your brain adapted. You learned to notice tone, mood shifts, subtle tension in a room, because those things mattered. Names didn't. You became someone who remembers how people feel, but not what they're called. And that's not random. That's pattern recognition. But here's the part people misunderstand. Forgetting names gets labeled as forgetfulness, sometimes even as low effort. But psychologists actually call this something closer to selective attention. Your brain isn't failing, it's filtering. It's choosing what feels useful to store and what doesn't. And when emotional or contextual information feels more important, labels like names don't get encoded deeply. It's why you can describe someone perfectly and still not know their name. And there's something underneath this that most people find uncomfortable when they realize it, because it changes what this trait actually says about you. Most people assume this is about memory. It's actually about focus. And here's where it gets fascinating. There's a concept in psychology called levels of processing. It comes from research by Craik and Lockhart. The idea is simple. The deeper your brain processes something, the more likely you are to remember it. So if you process a name only as a sound, it fades quickly. But if you process a person's behavior, energy, or emotional tone, that sticks immediately. And some people are naturally wired for that deeper, more intuitive processing. You don't just meet people, you read them. You notice things others don't even register. But there's a trade-off. Because while your brain is busy analyzing meaning, it often skips the label entirely. And this is where it gets strange. The more socially aware someone is, the more likely they are to struggle with names, because their attention isn't on memorizing, it's on understanding. If some part of this is making you rethink something you've always assumed was just a flaw, that's exactly what this space is for. There's more of these patterns than people realize. And here's where it goes deeper. People who forget names often carry a quiet pressure, because they know how it looks. They know the moment someone realizes you don't remember. That small shift in their expression. So you overcompensate. You become more attentive in other ways, more present, more engaged, not because you have to, but because your brain already works like that. And then comes the paradox. The thing that looks like disconnection is often the result of deeper connection. The same brain that forgets names is the one that notices everything else. The same pattern that makes introductions harder is what makes relationships feel more real. You don't attach to labels, you attach to experience. And that changes how you move through people entirely. Everything up to this point explains the why. What comes next is the part that tends to stay with people, because it reframes what this actually is. Of course, there's a harder side to it. Sometimes this pattern creates awkwardness, missed moments, unnecessary distance, and sometimes it's not just wiring. Sometimes it's anxiety, or mental overload, or being too inside your own head in social situations. That part is real too. And if any of this feels bigger than something small like names, that's worth paying attention to. And if any of this feels bigger than a video can hold, that's a real signal worth listening to. Talking to someone who actually knows this territory is never the wrong move. But at its core, this isn't carelessness. It's something else entirely. You're someone whose brain prioritizes meaning over labels. You don't store people as names, you store them as experiences, as tones, as impressions, as patterns. You were shaped to notice what most people overlook, and in the process, you let go of what most people rely on. So you became this very specific kind of observer, someone who might forget what someone is called, but never forgets how they made you feel. Like a library without titles. Everything is there. You just access it differently. And maybe the question isn't why names don't stick. Maybe it's why everything else does. Because that says something too. Something quieter, but more revealing. If any part of this felt like something you've experienced, but never quite explained, I'd be curious what you think it actually is now.